Okay, Video Watcher, hello, has asked, Mr. August, can you please look at Sarah and tell me why Nami is allowed to heal 3 times as much when I've heard you say Nami is a secondary healer? Sarah's never had this low win rate as AP carry or felt this sad in all roles. It would mean a lot if you gave Sarah some of your dev time now. When Sarah lost the AP skill on a W, she turned into every other mage in the game. So Seraphine could be weak right now. I don't know if that's true, and if it is, like, perhaps she could use a little buff. In regards to her, though, if you're like wondering like why can't Sarah heal as much as Nami, so Nami has like a button that literally says heal on an 8-second cooldown, right? Like Nami doesn't heal as much as Soraka, but Nami is a healer. Like she has heal button, and it's on a low cooldown. Seraphine's healing button is on a massive cooldown and only when she double casts it, right? So, you know, Seraphine being able to heal, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you were to look at like Seraphine's overall power budget and the things that she's doing, she has a lot more mage outputs than the standard enchanter, right? She's got her Q, she's got her E, she's got her ult damage, her passive damage, right? In the grand scheme of things, if you're like wondering like why doesn't Seraphine heal as much as Nami, it's like Seraphine's healing is more like healing in a moment. It's not like the repeated healing that you would get from like a Nami or a Soraka. And like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I think it's just different characters with different strengths, right? So yeah, I don't know if I would like look at Seraphine and be like, her healing throughput should be on par with these other enchanters. Like, I don't think that's what Seraphine's kit is about. She has a heal, and ideally that heal is good when she uses it. But I think that's a bit different from like a character like Nami who's just like healing repeatedly, right? Yeah. And then regards, the thing I always have to talk about with Seraphine is Seraphine, her primary player base is in support, so it's important that those players feel good. And then of course AP carry players are also a thing, and so it's worth thinking about them and, you know, buffing when it's needed. She tends to have to be tuned around the AP carry players in terms of when Seraphine's getting nerfs, it is often the case that it's because her AP carry role is winning too much. So like that's generally how you think about it, but like it doesn't mean that she can't win games in the AP carry role or anything like that. And so the way we would typically think about Seraphine is like look at her and it's like, well, how good is support? If it's weak, well, maybe that means we should buff it. How good is AP carry? And if it's too strong, it means we maybe can't buff it. So those are the things to think about. And, you know, it's possible that Seraphine's like a little weak right now, and if that case is, like, maybe we should buff her. But yeah. I'm new to the stream. Is the We Are All Challenger thing a meme or serious? It's a little bit of a meme, but I would say that the type of person who is likely to show up to a stream like this is often, especially if they're going to talk in the stream, is often a bit higher rated than the average player. And so I have generally found that a number of the opinions that I see in my chat are more high MMR skewed. That doesn't mean that everybody in chat's actually Challenger, although I'm sure all of you think you deserve to be there. But it's words. A lot of people are like more focused on higher MMR, and so I'll get like opinions like Mordekaiser sucks, you need to change the rework. And it's like, if you think Mordekaiser is not a viable character, it likely means you're higher MMR, because it turns out for most players Mordekaiser is a very fun, very viable character. I'll get opinions like Morgana is non-functional, and it's like, well, she's a lot weaker in high MMR, but like you're the average player, Morgana tends to be very functional. Maybe not as strong as she could be, but she's very functional. And so you'll often see more high skewed towards like the higher MMR types of opinions in chat, which is always something you need to think about in terms of like how your community tends to be biased, because it turns out there's certain characters that affect different places in different ways and all. Yeah, anyways. Do you enjoy playing your own champs, or do you get the artist thing where all the flaws stick out? I enjoy some of my champs. I do run into the flaw thing though. If you've watched my stream, you know that sometimes I can get a little salty when I play League. Little salty when I play League. It happens. One of the things that as a dev can make me salty is I can perceive all the flaws with the game, and then that frustrates me. And this isn't saying like I'm frustrated like, oh, we're doing a bad job. It's like I think overall League is an awesome game, and I think the folks that work on it do really, really good jobs. Like, it's never going to be perfect, but, you know, do really good jobs. But, you know, as a dev, I kind of get to see behind the curtain in terms of, like, the way things are, both on League and other games. And so sometimes I'll just get frustrated of, like, we should fix that, right? And of course, it's not always as easy as you think to fix any given thing. So, yeah. One of the things that's rough about being a game dev, actually, is it makes it harder for me to enjoy other games. So I've played, like, I don't know, 1,000 games at this point in my life. Like, actually, if you count board games. So I played a lot of games. And of course, I'm a game dev, so I develop games and I know how they're made. And it makes it harder for me to enjoy games because sometimes I'll just run into something, and I'll be like, that was incorrectly designed. This character should be 20% faster. And now that I know that it's wrong and it should be faster, I feel bad and I don't like it and I'm not having fun. Whereas, like, before I was a dev, like, I wouldn't even known anything about, like, what the right movement speed for a character in an RPG would be. So, and again, like, that's personal opinion too. Like, obviously, I'm gonna have an opinion that's probably different than the devs who work on any given game, and I'm not always gonna be right? But, like, as a game dev, I get, like, very, like, keyed into, like, little tiny, like, flaws with a game based on its design that makes it harder for me to enjoy a game versus, like, when I just, like, was an average player and it's like, yay, I love playing League of Legends, I'm gonna go pick Janna and shield someone, hooray, right? It's like, it's different. Yeah. What's the best designed, like, a game I played yet? I mean, it really just depends. There's so many good designed games out there. Like, I think Super Smash Bros. Melee is one of the best designed fighting games ever. Then just absolutely insanely good god tier game design. I think Elden Ring is incredibly well designed, like, for what it is. Like, you know, it's to a specific type of player, it's in a specific type of game, and it's just brilliant, right? It's just, oh my god. Elden Ring's so great. Like, there's so many well-designed games out there. I think it's hard to say, like, what is the perfect design or things like that. The Mario games are brilliantly designed. All, like, the major console mainline Mario games, Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey stuff, like, brilliant, incredible, right? Like, there's so many good games out there. So many good games out there. Thoughts on transitioning to the games industry? You're getting your game design degree in May. I guess I have two thoughts there. One is hiring in games is really rough right now. Like, a lot of tech companies, including game companies, have done a lot of layoffs. So in terms of getting entry-level positions, it's not the best time, which really sucks. And, like, that's not your fault. So that's rough. One of the things I generally recommend if you want to get a job in games, and I think this actually applies to many other careers and professions as well, is network. A lot of people think that, like, the way you get jobs is, like, merit, and, you know, that's some degree true, but a lot of jobs are significantly easier to get if you just know people who work in that industry, either because they can help you out, and, you know, help you with your resume and give you advice, or very much, like, give you a recommendation at their company and things like that. And so I think if you want to increase your chances of getting a job in any given industry, I highly suggest befriending and knowing people in that industry. I think that's a very smart thing to do that will greatly increase your chances. So yeah. Noted. Make friends. Yep. A more, like, direct thing, if, like, you're doing into game design, that I suggest is one of the things you should think about as a game designer is just, you know, how to think like a designer, how to improve games, how to solve problems. Game design is a lot around solving problems. So that's something I advocate you, like, think about when you're, like, thinking about game design is, like, hey, what's your favorite game? What are the problems with it? How would you solve those problems? Being able to be flexible and have, like, good idea and, like, problem solving generation is valuable. So one of the things we test in interviews, I'm sure other companies do this as well, and this is something you should think about, is the ability to like attack a problem from a lot of different angles. Because it turns out in game design, sometimes your solution to a problem won't work for whatever reason, or just won't be feasible. It might be like, it's a good solution, but it's just not possible because you don't have the people, or it's not possible because you don't have the time, or something like that. And so like you generally have to like find lots of different solutions. And so one thing to think about is like, okay, identify a problem with a game, okay? Think about how you'd solve that problem, or and like think about that. Okay, now take that solution, throw it in the trash, and think of a completely new solution, something totally different. And then take that solution, also throw it in the trash, and think of something new, right? And so it's kind of the idea that like being able to be flexible with how you solve things and approach problem solving from lots of different angles, and not necessarily getting stuck and anchored and unable to move on from like that one thing you thought of first can be very valuable and very helpful as well. So that's something to think about.